Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us sit for meditation. Settling into the present. Gently taking a deep breath in, closing your eyes, relaxing into the moment, letting go of all else. If you're seated on a chair, your feet directly in front of you, stable, not tucked under the chair. If you're seated on a cushion, being in a comfortable position, back straight, but not rigid. Your hands resting on your lap, one on the other. Let us come into this moment, letting go, relaxing all the senses and sense object. Taking a deep breath in, helping you to anchor one's attention upon the breath. Having loving kindness towards his mind and body. Letting go of the past, the future. And gently coming into this moment, right here, right now. Focusing upon the breath, the in-breath and the out-breath. Gently, gently observing the gross breath, the breaths that may be all over the place, highs and lows. As we calm down the mind and bring ourselves into the present, may this mind too, with the body, with the breath, come into a state of peace and tranquility. Simply being here with the breath, watching the rise and fall, the rising, ceasing of the gross breath. Gently letting go of craving any form of hatred. May the mind and the body come into a state of ease as moment to moment we observe the breath without exercising any sort of control, but simply observing, observing, observing. Gently, gently, as the gross breath settles with the mind. The breath may become even more clearer, even more at ease. And we may be able to observe the breath as long or short. Gently, 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 resolute in one's determination, with resolve. Let us welcome the peace and tranquility. Gently, gently, gently. Moment to moment. As we draw away from the views pertaining to the future and the past, and as we cultivate sati towards His presence, observing the long breath as long, the short breath as short, gently, gently. Allow all the fires blazing within this mind to die down with the realization that evil is not what must be cultivated. All the internal fire could only be subdued by loving kindness. Gently, gently. Observe gently. From the long breath, you may now be able to see the short breath, the breath that is prompt, putting aside all else. Imagine there are only two Dhammas, the mind that observes the breath and the breath itself. Imagine that there is nothing else in this moment. Should you hear sound, smell, taste, color, let us not take much notice of any other sense object. By directing the mind to observe without clinging, without craving, without hope or any aspiration. Let us acknowledge the burden, the heaviness of such hopes and aspirations to the present. As we release ourselves from this burden, simply observe each and every moment of the breath, of the breath, of the breath. observing, adverting the mind to experience the moment of the breath's arising, processing, and ceasing. The nature of impermanence, the nature of suffering when clinging is present, the alleviation of that suffering when we choose not to cling. Be observant and watchful. As you observe the Upada, Titi, Banga of each breath, of the in-breaths and out-breath. Observe, observe, observe. embracing stillness, calm, lesser sankhara. The mind simply adverting, discerning the moment of arising, processing, ceasing with resolve. Observe, observe. being aware of even the most subtle of craving, desire arising towards the object, letting go of any restlessness, fatigue, any forms of sloth and torpor, seeing it for what it is as a hindrance, and choosing to let go, realizing the impermanent, the suffering, the non-self. Gently, gently, gently. As the breath is observed, and the ability of one to observe without craving develop. The breath may become subtler and subtler. Be with the breath. If anything, adverting even more deeply with an undivided mind. Gently observe, observe. Gently. Let us now recollect the aspects of the meditation practice. Gently, acknowledging all that is, the quality of the Indriya, the influence of the hindrances, gently, 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 with loving kindness towards oneself, the mind and body, the environment of the mind and body. Gently, gently, taking a deep breath in, letting go of the breath as you relax the mind and body, the muscles all across, becoming aware of your surrounding. Gently, gently, when you are ready. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, everyone. So, how was today's meditation for you? Hmm? I was thinking Um, we discussed last week about, I think it was last week. Um, yes, it was last week where I think we discussed a few points that came into the discussion with regards to uh, quantum physics. And we related to a couple of points, which was quite interesting and quite inspiring as well. Um, there has been a recent development, well, the 5th of March, actually, so very, very recent, a couple of days ago. Some Italian scientists were able to convert light into a solid, hmm? Light into a solid, which is very interesting. And it is the first time that such an endeavor has been successfully undertaken. And it also sort of really does further illustrate the value and the relevance of doctrine such as Shunyata, the Dhamma, in regards to specifically the nature of Shunyata, the nature of change, the nature of Anatma. When you are converting, let us say, whether it is in wave form or solid form, if you are able to convert, especially as something according to the Paramatta Dhatu, light, the composition of light would be, we have always said, there is Patavi there is Apo, there is Tejo, there is Vayu. And the ability of scientists to pronounce a certain quality of it and bring that quality to light, turning something that is sort of um, something like light into a solid thing. There is a term that is also used called quantum shifting. Quantum shifting. And quantum shifting is quite relevant to all of us, actually. Because, for example, Venerable Angulimala quantum shifted, right? In a way where we always ask, or we bring this story to light. And there are so many other bhikkhus as well. For example, let us say um, there were so many bhikkhus who came from quite well-to-do and extravagant background. And these bhikkhus sort of coming into the monastery, letting go of all of that and now being able to live in this sort of very simple atmosphere with nature, with everything that is quite different from the lives that they used to live. That also is a part of quantum shifting, even if you're not enlightened, where the person's belief systems completely changes. The things that one is used to completely changes. I'm sorry, could I have some cameras on? If that's okay. I'm just looking at Devika. Kohanit Kattiya. Ah. Kotawa Kattiya. Let's see. More. So these bhikkhus, when they go through a kind of shraddha, with a great amount of, let us say, movement, samvega, they come into the sasana, and it is absolutely incredible. From the moment that, the monks welcome you, usually, how a ceremony happens, you might be bathed in milk, or you might be sort of saffron, might be turmeric, might be rubbed all across your body by the monks, and then you are washed and almost as if cleansed. It's a beautiful ceremony which takes place. And when the Upadhyaya or when the Upadhyaya gives whatever the pavitra, and when the robes are donned, the moment right after that moment, there is a shift. I don't know if this happens to everyone, right? But categorically, I would be able to say this does happen to those who sort of ordain with, let us say, a great amount of Shraddha or a great amount of sort of Dhammic understanding. එතන shift එකක් වෙනවා. Right? That shift is so immense, everyone, because I have had friends who were monks or juniors, seniors, same age as well, who would have been alcoholics, who would have been into addictions, who would have gone through a lot of stuff or been addicted to a lot of things or behaviors, vices. ඊට පස්සේ ශ්‍රද්ධාවෙන් ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලාත් එක්ක ඉඳලා සිවුරු දාගත්තට පස්සේ කියන්නේ සිවුර හම්බුනාට පස්සේ ඒ සියල්ලම almost sometimes overnight නැති වෙනවා. සමහරව almost overnight. Then Lankavi Sampradaya, Thai Sampradaya, in the Sri Lankan and the Thai tradition, you would bring monks in, you would bring young men and women in, and they would go through, let us say, a time of training. But in Burma, it's a little bit different. Burma, Thailand, certain parts of Thailand, it's a bit different where you are given ordination almost at the same time or with very less preparation. With very less preparation. So there would be a lot of young men and women who come into the monasteries. Let us say so many come to Pau to ordain for a week, for 2 weeks. Usually when Burmese parents are in their deathbed, they usually ask for their sons and daughters to become nuns and monks, Harry, and to sit by the bedside. And to sit by the bedside. ඒ කියන්නේ දෙමාපියන්ට ඒ සම්ප්‍රදාය උඩ, if for them in their belief the greatest thing that I could do is to give a child to the sasana, ඒ සතුට විඳින්න තමයි අර කරන්නේ. So a lot of people during those last days, a lot of children do get ordained and they do care for their parents. But regardless of that point, coming back to the main point, the fact that when you go through Shraddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Prajna, and when that Shraddha is so strong, it can lead to a shift where all behavior and any behavior that you want to sort of get rid of, just by the stake of a decision, you can get rid of it. You can get rid of it. Have you experienced things like that?
Very famous Thai eye surgeon who had to operate on the Thai queen, and it was a complex operation, and he was very nervous, but he was the most suitable. And he took this determination that he would do it, and if the operation was completely successful, that he would ordain for 6 months. So all of a sudden, in the retreat, there are for very senior people, old people like us. If you have been meditating for a long time, there are a couple of rooms which are kept. But the best room, there is one which is closest, so easier. The bathrooms also close by. And all of a sudden, all the rooms were shifted and somebody was coming. So you're wondering who it was. It was this Thai doctor. And he had taken, because the operation was finished and that danger period was finished. And immediately, when he knew he was not needed anymore and it was all right, he turned up. And so then after the retreat was over, I think for the 2-week retreat, he told us his story about this. So he had made the determination, but then on the spur of the moment, he had to live very simply like us. Most of us wear white, and then we don't shave our heads. But in his case, he did, because he became like a monk for 6 months.
Sure.
I have seen that once, but they are very.
No, this is yes, of course, with the sort of the keeping of determinations. Yes, of course, the determination, the power of the determination, when the mind believes it completely, everyone, right? When the mind believes it completely, not believe on the grounds of view, but believe on the grounds of Shraddha. Hari. Believe on the grounds of Shraddha. Very important. Not view. View without proliferation. From views, what happens is another proliferation, another series of thought, another series of, let us say, logical understanding and reasoning. Right? So, for example, let us say for an alcoholic who is addicted to the feeling of, let's say, drowsiness. For an alcoholic, the alcoholic, should the Dhamma hit right, that alcoholic should be able to quantum shift. Like Angulimala, like so many other bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, who, because of the Dhamma, they went through these shifts. And when it comes to, let us say, physicality, Rupa Dharma. Rupa Dharma, that is why I took the story of light being turned into solid, because light should never be solid. It is in what we understand and know. It is something that baffles our common sense even. ගිල පොඩ්ඩක් Google කරලා බලන්න. The research paper is also available. It baffles us. However, remember that brain cells, and all of those sort of biological factors here, yes, we name it muscles, veins, and all of these things that hold data, but this data and all that you know of this data and understand of this data can completely shift. Just as, for example, a healthy Buddha can determine and pass away right at this moment through the sheer power of determination. Through the sheer power of determination. The Buddha can also create things, as we spoke earlier. Last week, I think we spoke, the Buddha and even Arhats can and are able to create objects. Why they are able to create object, it is directly manipulating physicality. Just like scientists today are manipulating physicality, everyone. So when, for example, let us say, neuropathways established for the process of emitting hate, lust, delusion, non-greed, non-hatred, non-delusion, all of those pathways, they are mere rupas. They are rupas. These rupas are able to, with determination, go through a shift, a change. And this we are seeing more and more in today's modern world, whilst these things, of course, Buddhist monks and teachers have been speaking of these things far before. From the time of the Buddha, the ability for a person with klesha, conditioned by the world, conditioned by the experiences of the past, is able to take up new pathways of life, new ways of thought, even to the extent of being completely free and liberated by those kileshas that created the being themselves, itself. The hindrances which created the being itself can be completely eradicated, shifting. If we are to take at this very moment when we close our eyes and we completely believe or with Shraddha, the fact that we are now meditating, this should also create a sense of shift. However, we know that this shift only occurs if we are able to, or අර ශ්‍රද්ධාවෙන් ඒ ක්‍රියාව කරනවා නම් විතරයි. ශ්‍රද්ධාවෙන්. ශ්‍රද්ධාවෙන්. දැන් මෙතන ශ්‍රද්ධා කියනට මොනවද මතක් වෙන්නේ? I hope it's not carrying flowers. මොකද ඉන්නේ ඒ කොටසත් එන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ ශ්‍රද්ධාවෙන් මල් ටිකක් පූජා කරන එක මතක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒත් ඒකට වඩා that is also ශ්‍රද්ධා. That is also ශ්‍රද්ධා, everyone. ඒ ශ්‍රද්ධාව අපි හීන කරනවා නෙමෙයි. ඒත් ඒ ශ්‍රද්ධාව ආමිසය පිළිබඳව තියෙන ශ්‍රද්ධාව. ඒ ශ්‍රද්ධාව අභිභවා යන the Shraddha, the faith that goes beyond that, applies to each and every moment of mind. Udaharanya, example, everyone. Metta Sutra. Metta Sutra was taught to these monks who are being disturbed by whom? Do you remember?
Yes.
Yakkers or deities? Yakkers or deities?
They were unwholesome beings who frightened them and made sounds and disturbed them from meditating.
Sure,
I
sure.
think they are yakkas who are devas.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were low deva deities. හරි. ඒ කියන්නේ low deities who were living on top of the trees. හරි. රුක්ක දේවතාවන්.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when the monks were meditating, if you remember the story, you know,
They couldn't stay up there. Yes.
they couldn't stay up there, and it was sort of creating this difficulty. Now think about this, everyone. Let us put ourselves into that occasion. Okay, what is a situation? The situation is the fact that the monks, they were creating noises, sounds, disturbances, all of these sort of haunted, they created a very haunted environment to scare the monks away. Okay? They went to the Buddha, and once they went to the Buddha admonished them with the Karaniya Metta Sutta as a way, not shifting and changing the monastery, which the Buddha could have easily told, oh no way, innathu me avilla inna kiyala kiyanna තිබ්බද බුදුහාඳුරන්ට නේද? ඒ වුණාට ඒව නෙමෙයි කිව්වේ. ඒව නෙමෙයි බුදු පියාණන් වහන්සේ ආවාද. That is not the admonition. That was not the admonition of the Buddha towards those monks at the time. The admonition was the Karaniya Metta Sutra. Now, to me, it would sound odd, right? Imagine, okay? Imagine going back and me Devi Devatavan Vahanselat Maitri Karanam. To me, it sounds a little bit odd, right? Mokada Rahat Margita. If now imagine these bhikkhus are trying hard to attain arahatship. They come to the Buddha. The Buddha gives them a karmasthana to go and do metta towards the deities. That is a bit odd, everyone. Don't you think? Mokada hitanna පොඩ්ඩක් ඉන්න හිතන්න නිවන් මාර්ගය. The monks were supposed to be attaining nibbana. The Buddha would have given a karmasthana which would have taken them towards nibbana, because actually at the end of the Karaniya Metta Sutra, with the practice, they did attain.
Yeah. The whole sutra is path to Nibbana.
Exactly. The whole sutra is a pathway to Nibbana. Karaniya Metta Sutra, what is the first quality of the Karaniya Metta Sutra? Do you remember?
The qualities that one should develop is the first answer, the 14.
How many qualities?
14 qualities.
In those 14 qualities, so imagine the first quality. Do you remember the first quality? Anyone? The first quality is Sakko. Sakko. What is Sakko? Now let us discuss. Right? What is Sakko? Sakko is usually translated as being able.
Hakiyawa. Yeah.
Oh, haki sanyawa men then haki sanyawa komade bhikshun. How did Sakko? How could have Sakko been practiced by the 100 bhikkhus who were living in the Anatimani? How?
Tolerate these noises. For that, they said Sakko first.
Anikatya?
Disturbances.
Able. Able. Sakko is
the ability to, the confidence of having the ability to purify your mind with sila, that from sila to adisila. Sakko ujucha sujucha, the next one.
Tama uju giye naha.
That ability to purify the mind, the confidence of the ability can do it. The sila samadhi prajna.
The confidence, the confidence in the fact of one's ability to do it. So the first thing was, the Buddha tells the bhikkhus, literally, trust in yourself, the fact that you can overcome this. Do you understand? Huh? How does Sakko relate to you, everyone? Huh? The fact that, let us say, when hurdles present itself, mental or physical in nature, the nature of Sakko is where the yogi has this sense of clarity in mind, where they have confidence over the fact that they are able to perform good deeds, or they are able to deal with it in the Dhamma. They are able to overcome this with the Dhamma. With the Dhamma. The fact that they are able to, in themselves, they have the confidence. However difficult this kilesha might be, I can overcome it. Do you understand? So, and we know when it comes to difficult things, if we start by saying, oh, I don't think I can, then you're never going to be able to. But when you start things in a way thinking, I can, right? I can, then at least there is energy pushing you forward. We very well know this, isn't it, everyone? That is the first one, the first karma sthana to the bhikkhus was the fact of Sakko. Believe in your ability to overcome this. However, when we overcome challenges, when we overcome difficulties, we අර කෙලස් තිනොට හිතන ඕන දෙයක් කරලා මට මේකෙන් ගැලවෙන්නේ. කියන්නේ මිනි මරලා හරි මේකෙන් ගැලවෙන්න. ඒත් ඒ පැත්තට යන්නේ නැහැ. මේක ඒ පැත්තට යන්නේ නැහැ. The mind is seasoned in the Dhamma, in the Kusala. Hence, this mind is confident not over one's power or one's all of that. It's in our dharmi seasoned gatiya, the fact of Kusala. ඒක කුසල මනසි මේක overcome කරන්න පුළුවන් කියන Viswasaya, confident in yourself. So again, everyone, when you are sleepy, believe in yourself that you can overcome it. When you are feeling lethargic or tired, or your body is paining, or your memory is not that good, then all of these things that arise in one's life, believe in the fact that you can overcome it. Sometimes we might not have the strength alone. That is where we have the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, the foundations, right? The foundations that give us that sense of strength. That sense of strength. The second one, Uju. What is Uju? Uju is the ability of being upright. Upright. What is the meaning, or how does being upright hold true to those 100 bhikkhus who received this karma sthana from the Buddha? Upright. බුදුහාමුදුර අනවශ්‍ය දේවල් කියන්නේ නැහැ නේ. නිකන් he will never say something නිකන්. Just. He doesn't speak of in that way. Uju. So think about it, everyone. Uju. How does that apply to the bhikkhus?
Vigilance.
Sorry?
Vigilance, I thought.
Uju is not vigilance. Uju is upright.
No, the next. My phone is playing.
So Bhante, that because before the Uju, one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. So if you are practicing and you are already practicing and you know the path of peace, they are the ones who are the hakiya, the able to be upright. So when these, like in that Ratana Sutra, when these winds come, they can remain, stand and not follow. So they are upright because they are so grounded in their practice and they have practiced goodness. And that confidence that they have practiced, and it gives them the ability to stay firm when these challenges, the hindrances come and all these things come, Bhante, that they have practiced the Bojjhanga so well.
Still, good, you're coming close. However, the Buddha offered even more clarity with regards to this point. Where now you said this is the being upright with the Dhamma. With the Dhamma. The Buddha has, with the practice, I'm sorry, yes, with the practice. Here the Buddha has given two words, honesty, integrity. Uju, upright. Being upright with honesty and integrity with what? With the object. Remember, this is the karmasthana. Okay. Hence, when there is a karmasthana, there is an object. That object, whatever object that you are with honesty, with integrity. Do you understand? So, for example, let us say you're supporting someone and you support them upright, again, with honesty, with integrity. Right? With honesty, with integrity. So being with the meditation object with honesty, with integrity, what does this mean to us? Now, for example, for the Andavane bhikkhus, hitanna, they are meditating, let us say, probably because of, the trees being so tall and big and, probably very lush forests at the time. So it would have got dark very soon, right? Because of the sun. Pahata, hatara marata paata vitara. Maybe it gets dark fast. ඔතකොට ඒ වෙලාවේ ඉඳන් හිතන්න, think of this occasion. These sounds are coming. All of these things are happening. ඔතකොට දැන් these bhikkhus are meditating. These bhikkhus are meditating, and now these sort of disturbances occur, right? Now the bhikkhus meditating means that the bhikkhus are cultivating or developing a certain object of meditation, right? Now this applies to that object of meditation, everyone. If I am with my breath, I am exclusive to the breath. Do you understand?
Yes.
Honesty. Of course you do. Honesty and integrity, you see. That honesty and integrity, the upright nature is, now let us say you're standing with a friend, and you trust in this friend. Okay, so now people might be saying stuff, but you are standing tall, you are standing strong. None of this is affecting you. Uju, that is Uju. That Uju comes on the ground of being with this, again, knowing or understanding this friend. However, in the same way with the breath, let us say, everyone, you're practicing you're a Goenka person practicing Anapana with me, for example, right? Now, the belief, Goenka Vedananupasana, here Anapana, okay? The belief that I do better, let us say, we are with an object, but we favor a different object. Do you understand? We are with an object, but we favor a different object. We favor a different object. Appakicco, we are doing Anapanasati, but you prefer Vedananupasana. Okay? We are doing Anapanasati, so the breath is the object, but you prefer Vedana, sensations as the object. Now, are you with Anapana with honesty and integrity, everyone?
Yes.
Devika, you're not.
No.
You're not with honesty. You're with Anapana, the breath, but you're thinking of Vedana.
No, I'm not thinking like that.
Bhante, it's because of the difference between honesty and integrity. Because honesty is the seal, but the integrity is doing what you say that what you've been told to do. There's a difference. People think they are both the same, but they're not. Honesty is the sealer, like you won't kill, you won't do the sealer. But the integrity is doing what you say you have to do. So here, when you're doing
honesty, no, Dil, yes, sealer. Sealer is the ability to maintain yourself in a certain discipline, if we take it in that way. And what is in this case the discipline here? Staying true to your meditation object. Okay, so when, let us say, Anapanasati Vadnota me Swamin Hansala, when these bhikkhus were developing Anapanasati and they were hearing the sounds, ghoulish sounds, then Aramuna shifts from the breath to the sounds. The Buddha says, Uju.
Yes.
Stay honest to your meditation subject. Do you see? In the same way, everyone, for all of us, We are meditating, but we get a, let us say, a pain or a certain difficulty or a challenge or a thought or a series of thoughts. Uju is being able to come back and stand, taste true and honest to the meditation subject. To the Anapana. And we know every moment that the mind distracts, if we come back to the Anapana again and again, again and again, that is a good practice. Because again and again, we have adverted to the Anapana. Does that make sense? Any questions, anyone? That is Uju, the ability of being upright. Upright with the object of meditation. Suju. Ujucha, sujucha. Suju is extremely or very, it is a way of pronouncing the upright nature even more. This being a sense of being honorable to that object.
Manase ju. Manase irju.
Sorry?
Sujucha means manase irju.
Oh, manase, pronouncing,
more.
further pronouncing that uju nature. Otakoda hitanna menna metana, as a yogi, let us say, who has received this brilliant Appakicco apita karma, we get a meditation instruction from a great master, a grand master. When a grand master is to give us that meditation object, we are going to hold it like we would hold on to a very expensive piece of jewelry or some sort of treasure. We are going to try to cultivate it, make it better, hang on to it, isn't it? Right? Ujucha, sujucha. If you have a friend and the friend is getting sick and ill, and if you're to abandon this friend, is that a nature of the Dhammic mind? It is not, right? Where are we easily abandoned? Do we know that in the practice? We know that very well, isn't it? Amaru, Kudak Amaru Nama, Pilising, abandon Karno Karmastani. Ema Karani Nehe. You don't do it. Ujucha, Sujucha, Mukade, why? Imagine everyone. The bhikkhus are sitting in meditation practice under trees. And yes, Uju, they are hearing the sounds and all of these voices and all of these ghoulish things. And they are trying very hard to stick with the practice, which is the object. They can need to be steady. ඔතන මොනවද වෙන්නේ? යක්කු ටික ඊටත් වඩා සද්ද කරනවා. ඊටත් වඩා සද්ද කරනවා. ගහේ තියෙන පළතුරුත් අරන් ගහන්නත් ඇති. ඒවත් කරන්න ඇති. ඔතන මොනවද කරන්නේ? ඌජූච සූජූච. ඒ වෙලාවේ වුණත් අර කරදර වැඩි වුණාම අපි කරන්නේ සූජු. Very upright. You don't budge. You don't budge. ඒ කියන්නේ කිලේශයට එන්න ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඌජූච සූජූච. Any questions? The fourth is suvaco. Suvacha. Suvaco.
Kikaru.
Sorry?
Kikaru.
Suvacha is being open to correction. Open to correction, everyone. Again, this is a karmasthana, and this was taught to bhikkhus as a nivan marge kotasak vashen. What is suvacho? That means open to be corrected. What does this mean? Imagine, everyone. Ujucha sujucha. So you can imagine the amount of integrity they might have with or try to have with the object. Now, when you have such integrity, let us say, it could also go on to, let us say, stagnant belief or rigidity. Stagnant belief or rigidity. ඒ කියන්නේ ඉඩ දෙන්නේ කොහොමත්ම ඉඩ දෙන්නේ කියලා full stop, right? Which is good for the practice as long as it is in the Dhamma sense, but that can also go into rigidity, which is not a Dhammic nature, isn't it? There the Buddha says, Suvaco, Suvaca vima, which is being open to correction. Tamang, earlier when you understood or experienced the object or environment or whatever insights in a certain way, being open to correction is we realize everyone, we see a Dhamma in a right manner, Samma, in a right manner. However, as we meditate and progress, develop further, our insights are further polished and refined as we move forward, isn't it? If in this instance the person is not open to correction, does not change, does not amend, very rigid, what happens then? Akusalaita වැටෙනවා. You understand? For example, let us say, diets. Diets. And then the affecting of mood, the affecting of emotional state and all of these things. But you're very rigid about it. Very rigid about it leads to sickness, let us say. The Dhammic nature there might be to also be able to see, am I causing health? Am I causing distress? To be able to take it in a balanced manner. In a balanced manner. I mean, you all have lived through, generations of where people went into a lot of the hippie style, the hippie movement, isn't it? You all have lived through that, right? So you would have experienced a lot of people with different practices, and how sickness and all of these things might have, come across people when they have very, very strong rigidity in their spiritual practice.
Yes.
This is Suvaco, where we are again and again open to that sense of correction. Although we understand a certain thing in a certain way, we are not stuck on that certain way, but constantly progressing or able to progress, able to be corrected in that way. Suvaca. Okay? Suvaca being.
Yes.
How does this relate to our practice, everyone? How does this relate to our practice? Now, you're trying to observe, let us say you're trying to be in a specific place, observe an object in a particular state, then you have this deep sense of devotion and commitment towards this object. However, that commitment that you're making towards the object, it is too much. Now this has become a view. That does not happen. That does not happen. Where we understand, we might have seen a bit of rupa, but this is not the final state. That's what we mean. That this experience of rupa will progress further and further and further. And as it progresses, our understanding of it changes. Our experience of it changes. Being open to that suvaca. Being open to that suvaca. Udaharanekata now, within a deshana, example everyone, within a deshana, we are able to explain the process of experience from the first tetrad on to the last. Okay? We are able to go through the Satipatthana Sutra and talk about this. However, then we steps would the focus karanama. However, you are focusing on the steps. However, you're not open to change or understanding with how these words would manifest in reality. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් අහපු ධර්මයේ ඇත්තටම කොහොමද මට තේරෙන්නේ?
Oh,
Isn't it? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Someone is explaining something to me, but how does one understand this naturally with oneself through the experience? Through that, suvaca. Open to correction. Open to correction. So even when, let us say, I am telling you in this session, focus on the breath, focus on the breath, focus on the breath. Now, as you focus upon the breath, hindrances come, thoughts come. Even at this time, suvacha, suvacha, to the ability of maneuvering this at that moment through correction, that openness to correction, not rigid. Mudu, the next one, Mudu is gentle, gentle with the object. For example, let us say you are hearing ghoulish sounds just as these 100 bhikkhus were hearing. Be gentle with it. Can you be gentle with a ghoulish sound? You can.
I
Be gentle. Be gentle with it. Now, I've seen so many visiting the hospital sometimes. There are sort of eruptions that happen in the hospital. Patients not getting what they want, or a report hasn't come, or this hasn't gone here, so you sort of sometimes see fights going on in the hospitals, right? And the nurses now, of course, fights usually one party is fighting the patient. The nurses, right? I have seen now this, even the patient is very uproarious, but the nurse is looking at the patient just as it is, a patient. The nurse is looking at the patient not as anywhere else, as a patient. And when you are patient, and when you are now looking at the patient, dealing with the patient, whatever this patient say, this is a patient, a person who is sick, talking, speaking, acting, irrational or rational. This is a patient. Echarai. A nurse, that nurse doesn't need anything more. If the nurse realizes in the fact that this is a patient, that's it. ඊට වඩා පලාව අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. Then doesn't need to be another palava continuing after that. The sense of being mrudu, even towards an aggressive object. Mrudu, even towards an aggressive object.
Is it Bante accepting the situation as it is? As it is, just
it's
as
not acceptance. It is not acceptance. It is being gentle. ඒ කියන්නේ යන්ති even පස් ගලන තුවාලයක් cotton bud එකක් අරගෙන cotton ටිකක් අරගෙන පීදනවා. ඒ පීදීමේ in sort of taking that cotton pad or wool or what not and wiping that pus off the wound, you're doing what needs to be done, but you're also doing it gently. Right? This is
It goes with the word murudu, Sinhala word murudu.
Yes, it is. Gentle. Mruduvima. Gentle. So, even when, for example, everyone lethargy, laziness, aggression, lobha, delusion, on the other sense, lobha, alobha, adosa, amoha, right? Even, for example, as people meditate, they could think, oh, I need to do this pinkama or that pinkama, good things. I need to cook this or that, or I need to make my kids happy tonight by cooking them their favorite, or, something of this sort. Even you realize, everyone, when we are gentle with that thought, with that arising, you can very, with much care, put it, not to say you have no value, but you can put it onto a side. You can be with the object without it creating or ruffling a lot of feathers. Mruduvima, with the object. So next time assignment, when you have some sort of uproarious conversation with someone, right, in your house, over the phone, whatnot, right, mruduin. See how you can listen to abuse, right? Being gentle. This is going to be very difficult if you are the abuser, right? Right? However, if you're being abused, which is the factor when you are receiving those sound waves, try to see, experiment, everyone. මං කීන හින්දාම පිළිගන්න එපා. බලන්න කොහොමද how does this experience come? How can I be gentle with that which is aggressive? Gentle with that which is aggressive. Mrudu. Anatimani. 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 Mana. Mani. Anatimani. Anamana. Anamana.
Nihatamani.
Not conceited.
Like the Nihatamani.
Not conceited. Mana is
Yeah.
conceit, not conceited.
Mana is ඒක නියතමානීද සිංහල වචනේ? නියතමානී. Humble, being humble.
That is humble and not conceited.
නියතමානීකම කියන්නේ humbleද?
Oh, ඒක තමයි humble and not conceited කියන්නේ. It's
Okay.
humble and not
Ana,
conceited.
හරි. So anatimani is ana plus mana. Anatimani. ඒ කියන්නේ මාන්නේ නැති. බලන්න, this is so beautiful, everyone. More than the fact of the English word being humble. Anamana. Anamana. Mane, where does mana arise in the loba mula chitta? Mana often arises after the establishment of a ditti, a view, which is also done by a loba mula chitta. Anamana, not basing yourself upon that view. Do you understand? Now, mana is of three sorts. Adimana, Seyamana, Heenamana. Okay, so I am better than this. I am, no, this is better than me. Or we are equal. All these three patterns of thought. Anna. Me tune enne naha. Meaning, you can be humble. You're not arrogant with whatever that is unfolding in the object. For example, when the mind needs samadhi, when the mind needs to work on its samadhi, when the mind needs to work on its sati, let us say, you have the anatimani, the humble nature of mind for you to then work on the sati. Samara mewai katawa එහෙනවා. අපි විදර්ශනාව කළා තියෙනවා මෙච්චර කල් මොනවටද අපිට සමාධි? විදර්ශනාව but that is not that is a view, everyone. Do you understand? The samadhi helps and supports the vipassana, and anyone who practices that would relate to that fact. The mind does not shift and change so fast, and all of these things that we already know. But realize that that word humble, being humble, being humble with the object. Anatimani is usually translated as being humble, free of arrogance, pride, being humble. But the word humble doesn't fully relate the idea of anatimani.
Bhante, if you say like without comparison, like you're not comparing yourself with another object,
Sure.
or good object, bad object, without taking it as it arises, without comparison, so you don't fall into heenamana, adimana, nor even comparing with samamana.
Sure. Yeah, the comparison would work. Comparison would come in if there are multiple objects. Yes. When you stop the comparison, there is nothing to compare. Hence, there is only one singular object. That singular object that you are Sakko, Uju, Suju, Suvaco, right? And Mudu with. Here, when there is no mana, there is nothing, no state of self that is manifested onto the object.
Yes.
දැන් සමහරවට මේ හිතන්න මෛත්‍රී භාවනාව කරනකොට හිතන්න පුළුවන් මේ සුළු භාවනා ඇයි අපි කරන්නේ හිතෙන්න පුළුවන්. That is the right opposite of anatimani. Why are we doing these simple meditations? That is mana there. Where did that mana come from? From the view that is loba ditti. Proliferates into loba mana. Remember that? We spoke about that 2 weeks ago. Loba mana, loba ditti. Because with craving, you have taken up a view. That, let us say, Metta Bhavana is a basic meditation technique, let us say. Because of that view, now your vipassana metta. Now this disparity in the mind, then this is not anatimani.
Yes, compare.
මෛත්‍රී අවශ්‍ය වෙලාවට මෙත්තා, කරුණා අවශ්‍ය වෙලාවට කරුණා, මුදුතා අවශ්‍ය වෙලාවට මුදුතා, උපේක්ඛා අවශ්‍ය වෙලාවට උපේක්ඛා. මොනුවත් අවශ්‍ය නැති වෙලාවට මොනුවත්වත් නැහැ. ඒක කමක් නැහැ.
And once even with single object, one could think that the object is clear and focused today. It wasn't like yesterday, or today it is not focused like yesterday. So that kind of comparison with I, that Ditti and Ana, comparing even the single object, you can. So accepting it as the way it arises. Without judgment. Without judgment.
Acceptance දමයන්තිත් කිව්වේ මේ මුදු කියන එකටද? නෑ අනතිමානි කියන එකටද?
මුදු කියන
එකටනේ.
මුදු කියන එකට.
මෙතන
without comparison.
Without comparison, without chasing after or manifesting ego of self.
Yes.
I think we could explain it in a couple of ways, but the English translation often offered is being humble, without arrogance, without pride. But we understand it more practically if we realize, where does this pride come from? The pride comes from holding a certain view. That view, when that view disappears, or when that view is chucked aside, why? Why do we chuck it aside, everyone? We chuck it aside because, when you have a view, I don't know if you've noticed in your meditation already, anytime that there is a view, it's a burden. Anytime that you have a view in your mind, it is a burden, everyone. Have you realized this in your meditation? Have you noted that? When you, for example, ask yourself in your meditative time, I want to come here, I want to come there, I want to be at this state and that state. It's a burden. Burden, it is dukkha satya. ඒ කියන්නේ දුකට හේතුවක් වෙනවා එතන. You can see that this is a cause for suffering, because when from the very next moment when you are not getting what you want, you suffer now. You suffer now. That is Anatimani, where you choose. Acceptance, we accept things. We must realize, if we are accepting through discernment, that is with understanding. But if you're accepting because of powerlessness, that is not the acceptance that our Buddha is talking about. Powerlessness. That is not the acceptance that the Buddha is talking about here. This acceptance comes from the factor of realizing that there is no other higher or lower thing. We are here in this moment, and in this moment I have hate, I have greed, I have delusion, I am thinking too much about doing kusala. To that, Anatimani is being humble, meaning, imagine, even if we just take being humble, I want to do this, I want to go to that state, I want to go to this state, I want to have the first jhana, the second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, fifth jhana. Then, me jhana ගැන අපි හිත ඉන්නව ධානයක් නැහැ. Right? Because we are proliferating it through thought, it's not arising. Being humble is the fact of realizing this, letting go of that proliferation and being with what you have. Hence, bringing us to the next one, Santussako. Santussako is contented, everyone. Being content. How did those monks, 100 monks living dependent on one another, how were they able to practice contentment? Hitanna. You sit down for long, you sit down for hoping that you're going to have a brilliant night of meditation. And then you have all these insects biting you, snakes and all the frogs jumping on you, all of these things that are happening, which I'm sure were things that happened to these monks. Snakes and frogs and all of these insects, and now the sound and all of these things, isn't it? Now, I am hoping, or the monks may have hoped, we are going to practice for 8 hours through the dawn of night. Okay? However, in reality, they were only able to do 2 hours properly. Let us say, because of all of these hindrances. ඒ අවස්ථාවේ දැන් having the sense of contentment මේ ටික මේ දෙය හරි කරානේ. We tried. Now, don't lazy ones. This is a don't take this for sloth and torpor. I am talking about the fact of establishing this sense of kusala. Don't take it as a cause for sloth and torpor to arise. That would be a great harm. Santussako, contented, is the fact of being content about what is. So if, let us say now, everyone, guided meditation, I may tell you to watch the Uppada Titibanga whilst you are still maybe contemplating upon the long breath, let us say, or the gross breath. හරි මේ වෙලාවේ තමන්ට හිතෙන්න පුළුවන් you may think බන්ති අර ඉස්සරහට කියලා ඉවරයි I'm still being I can't even see this properly now කියලා. එහෙම හිතෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ අවස්ථාවේ මොනවද කරන්නේ? දැන් බලන්න එන්නේ එතන ද්වේෂයක් without leading way for the arising of hatred, without leading way for the arising of any hindrance. Santussako. Santussako දෙයා මොකද මේක අපිට හරියට මේක වෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් අපි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා කර්මස්ථාන ගන්න ගියාම ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා ඔක්කොම එකතු වෙලා කර්මස්ථාන. We all take the karmasthana together. So we hear, listen, everyone's karmasthana we hear. So then we might think to ourselves, oh, I don't have this, or I don't have that, or I don't have what that bhikkhu has, or what that nun has. Very possible, not possible, it happens. Outright, it does happen because obviously we are all there to become enlightened. And, when we hear sublime experiences, my gosh, what if I was able to experience that? ඒ වුණාට දැන් ඒක lower path, when it goes on to the lower, there is dvesha rising afterwards because I don't have it. Yeah? But when there is santussako, contentment, contentment in what this subject is, whatever it is that you have, නින්ද ගියත් නැතත්, පොඩ්ඩක් නින්ද ගියත් නැතත්, පොඩ්ඩක් හැලඹිච්ච ස්වභාවයක් තිබ්බත් නැතත්, that sense of contentment. Contentment with the object. Contentment with the object. දැන් භාවනා කරනවා අපි කියමු සද්ද ගෙදර හරි සද්ද. ඒ environment එකට content වෙන්න. You have to be content with that environment. Because it is not anyone's responsibility to provide you with a calm environment to meditate. It is no one's responsibility. No one's responsibility. But your own. How do you achieve that? By being content. Content with, now even let us say, hot days, you're sweating. You're sweating bullets or pellets. What do you sweat?
Very much sadda song.
Sweating bullets? Do you say sweating bullets? No.
No. I said I have lots of noise while I'm meditating because there are kids in the upper floor, so they run around. So, but I'm trying to,
Yeah.
Yes,
Devika, direct in the make Santussako. Santussako. Right? Santussako is a factor where lamai hitiyat, the ballopuso hitiyat, the yaksu tachu hitiyat. This is the environment.
Yes.
There is no other environment for us.
Yes, correct.
No other environment. This is the environment. Okay? Santussako. Okay? Santussako. Contented. And the bhikkhus in that, Andavani Aratika Okkoma Veddi, when all of that was happening in the Andavani, they would have been content with that, with all those disturbances.
Yes. But I'm tolerating all that.
No, we do. Why? Please do. I do not like.
Yeah, I think you tolerate candy.
Hold on. Let me finish. Sure. But let me finish. Do not tolerate anything. I completely dislike the word tolerate. Because tolerating is so egotistical. Huh? Who are we? It's like, okay, we must be tolerant in a society. Okay, beautiful. But what right? It's very egotistical. What right do I have to do? What right do I have to do anything other? It's not tolerating, Devika. It is being content with what you have.
Yes.
The Buddha, in all of these things, if someone can find the Pali word for tolerate, may tolerating is not there in the Metta Sutra. You don't tolerate.
Yeah, I understand.
It tolerating and being content or humble or gentle, very different. Very different. When you say, even when you say, I am tolerating him, I am tolerating, very ugly, isn't it? Hitan the katanan deka.
Oh, Mama, a word use kare silence, a tibunat thing. I try to overcome that and
Sure.
so,
Sure. Thing is, Devika kalima quantum shift when අර ළමයි වගේ සද්ද කරන්න නැත්තම් ළමයි වෙන මොනවා කරන්නද?
Oh, that is true, but the one
දැන් එන්නේ ඒ පැත්තට දාගන්න දේවිකා. ඒ
Okay.
පැත්තට දාගන්න ඔතකොට දැන් now you're living in a flat, so there is upstairs, you're in the base
Yeah.
flat, so there are people upstairs. දැන් මේ situation එක තමයි situation එක.
Oh.
මේකත් නිකන් දම්සිරීගේ අර neighbor වගේ who puts the අර neighbor වගේ. And I am sure all of us have these little, but the thing is, everyone, though I feel, for some reason, I feel the word tolerate is such an ugly word.
Use that.
Maybe it is not, but maybe you don't feel the same. But the thing is, I feel like it is so against metta to say tolerate. No.
වන්ති එතන ද්වේෂ සහගත සිතක් එනවා නේද ටොලරේට්
Exactly.
කරන්න ඕනේ කියනකොටනේ
Tolerate කරනවා කියන්නේ already කරදරයක් වෙලා කියන එක.
ද්වේෂයක් ඇවිල්ලා
If you're tolerating, it has already become a nuisance. Stop it before it becomes a nuisance.
Tolerating දුන්නේ
Sujata,
tolerating ඉවසීමනේ. ඉවසීම කියන එක
what is
ඉව-
the Sinhala of tolerate?
patience විසීමෙන්නේ patience නේද
ඉවසීම නෙවෙයිද?
patience නේද සිලා
Ivasima is
being patient
Patience.
Tolerant.
Kanti. That's patience. Kanti.
anti patient is different to tolerate නේ
Yeah.
Bante, what you're saying is seeing things as they are. That's what you're saying because self hasn't come in. That's why you're
Yeah.
explaining.
In the meditation today, I use the word the environment of the body, environment of the mind.
Yes.
Two environments.
Mm.
The environment of the mind is all the objects that works in your mind, right? You could very well be seated somewhere. You could be at a church, or you could be at a Buddhist temple, or wherever it is that you are, and your mind can be miles and miles and miles away. We know this, right? But here, in the fact of, let us say, being with the object, whatever this object is. Now, for example, at PAOK, we had a nuisance near the meditation hall, which was the engineer who had done just in Burmese fashion, the water hut that we had was had tiles. Again, top to roof, everything was tiled. When you put tiles, especially on a sink base, everything that you put on this sink makes a loud noise, right? Because our high pitch, especially. And all the cups that you have at this water hut was those aluminium stainless steel cups. So now when the monks go, when they're thirsty, when they go to fill their bottles to drink some water through the meditation, this high pitch silver, this clatter comes. Earlier, why are they doing that? Why don't they do that? Why can't they go and fill up their bottles before the meditation starts? So all of these things comes to your mind. And then you realize, what am I fighting with? This is the environment I am in. And actually, I too sometimes go during the meditation. It is simply the fact that this is the environment. So that environment, when the mana, now I complain because of the mana and the ditti. The fact that they should do it in this way, this way, this way. Mana and ditti, all nonsense. Yeah? All unnecessary palava. When I realize the fact of there is nothing to sort of fight with, or rather to be aggressive or wish that it was different, when the ditti and mana was put aside, content with it. Content with whatever which is. The second is Subharo. Subharo is easy to support. Easy to support how everyone. Meaning, now if you are a person who's waiting for big things to happen, big things. And when you don't get those big things, for example, let us say in terms of jhanas and all of these sort of attainments, you're waiting for big things, but these big things don't come as you require and desire. The fact of Subharo, the fact of Subharo is where our actions or our mind is easy to support. Easy to support. Now, for example, let us say if our minds to meditate, you need a cushion, you need this, you need that, your meditation seat and all of these things that you need to meditate. But then you come to realize, actually, I don't need any of these things to meditate. I can just sit on a chair or, මේ බිත්තියකට හේතු වෙලා. බිත්තියකට හේතු වෙලා බෝක්කුවක් උඩ. Anywhere, ලින්ද ගාව. Anywhere that you want, that you can do it. You see, කලින් හිතුවා I needed this and this and this and this and this. So everyone needs to be quiet. Everyone needs to be at work. I need silence. I need pin drop silence. Pin drop silence. All of these things that you need. Difficult to support. Easy to support is that harima sului, harima easy going, in a sense of even with the object, even if the object is clear and radiant and luscious and there's great clarity, sadhu, that's good. However, if the breath is not all that clear today, how is that not clear breath going to support the instilling of mind? If you do not have the quality of Subharo. Do you understand? Imagine those monks, they would have had to be okay with, let us say, the small things or the little things that they were able to sort of do even whilst going through that difficulty. Even whilst going through that difficulty. And usually if the devas were doing all of that, surely they were sick. They were ill. They were taken by all of these different other things. Surely the animals in the forest and all of these things also had affected these monks. Imagine 100 bhikkhus getting up, leaving to go see the Buddha. It's a big thing. It's not one bhikkhu, no, 100 bhikkhus. All of them, they couldn't take it any longer. So imagine what difficulties there might have been for them. Easy to support is the fact of whatever the samadhi or the quality or the vipassana or whatever it is that you're cultivating for you to be with the object and for you to practice, the support that you need, easy to support, Subharo. Okay. Does that make sense, everyone? ඊට පස්සේ Appakicco. Appakicco is the ability of being the right opposite of busy. How does this relate to those monks? What is busy? Being busy then? The mega andavani in Swamin Mahansala kiwi. What is that, everyone?
Not all. Appakicco means alpakicco. That means not too many things to do. That means not to be a busybody.
Yeah, not to be a busybody, right? Engaging in few duties and responsibilities. Appakicco. Appakicco. But what does it mean? Appakicco. And how does it relate to these bhikkhus who are හිතන්න දැන් how does Appakicco, that definition, Mana, right, which is usually the way that we translate it, think about it, how does that relate to these bhikkhus who are living in a destitute type of situation in the forest, under a tree? මොනවද Appakicco කියන්නේ? Does it seem irrelevant then, මේ ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලාට? It can't be, isn't it? What do you think?
They can't be saying that we have to get jhana and that we have to be a stream entry and whatever they're hoping to do. It doesn't have to be like that. Whatever is happening is what happens, and therefore you're contented with the way things are. That you're you see things as they are without saying, no, I must get jhana now. Yesterday jhana was good and whatever. I haven't even got Sotapani yet. So
හරි. මේ Appakicco. Okay. Papa, any other ideas? The others who haven't spoken today? Tilani, Lettice, Manisha, Anoma, Oko, Ogulu, Sudharma. Why are you not participating? Huh? What is Appakicco? Unbusy. Remember, again, these are two monks who were living in the forest. They wouldn't have been planting and doing all of that, no, right? So what would they have been doing? They were spending their time trying to achieve enlightenment with the guidance. They would have gone to the village nearby once every day or couple of times a week, even, because they might have not been eating every day. Also, there might have been bhikkhus who were eating once every 3 days or 2 days as well in these sorts of situations. So what is Appakicco?
Could it be like less busy mind in the sense of less busy thinking, hardly any thinking, not very busy with millions of thoughts, but just having like no thoughts, if at all?
Absolutely. Now, for example, let us say, Akari apita වෙනව ප්‍රශ්නයක්. අපි ටික එකතු වෙලා මොනවද කරන්නේ කොහොමද මේක විසඳන්නේ, all of that, right? This discussion is going on. හිතා ගන්න පුළුවන් නේ. කට්ටියම එක cents ටික ඔක්කොම contribute කරාම එතන තියෙන chaos එක විදියකට. ඒ chaos එක නැහැ. That busyness, even for example, let us say something happens. It's so beautiful that this thing, this unfolding isn't made into something. Do you get what I mean? This unfolding isn't made into something. Let us say now, meditation sessions, sometimes people can fall asleep during meditations and snark, and then they might snore, right? During sleep, of course, not knowing, right? What to do with it? Human. Now, Appakicco would mean then me snoring, you hear this snoring. Lee molaka wage. Me
What examples were they?
Lee molak wage, when you hear the snoring, ඒ වුණාට දැන් මේ snoring එක හැිනවා දැන් snoring එක හැින්න mind එක busy වෙනවා. නේද? snoring එක හැින්න mind එක busy වෙනවා.
ද්වේෂය හින්දා.
මොනවද?
ද්වේෂය හටගන්න හින්දා. ද්වේෂයෙන් ද්වේෂ බොහෝ වෙලාවට ඉතින් මේ වගේ අවස්ථාවල් වල ද්වේෂයනේ එතනට අදාළ නැති සබ්දයක් වගේනේ. ඔතකොට ද්වේෂයක් බොහෝ වෙලාවට හටගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ ද්වේෂය හටගන්නේ මේ සිතුවිලි විතරක වෙන්නේ because the thoughts are proliferating. The mind doesn't proliferate. The mind doesn't go into busy thought. ඒ කියන්නේ බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා, basically observing, right? Doesn't go into that. There is snoring. ඒ වුණාට you just move forward. You just move forward. That's it. හිතන්න මේ if you are in a hospital, especially not somewhere which is like a ward sort of setup, and then everyone is ailing and crying and something of that sort can happen. And now you're in this place and you're hearing, you're closing your eyes, you're with your eyes closed, and all of these sounds and aches and pains and all of these moans that you hear in the background. Ned, hospital එකක්. At that time, ඒ සියල්ලම මේ දුක සත්‍යනේ දුක. It is like surrounded by suffering. Surrounded by suffering, people suffering. ඒ අවස්ථාවේ the mind, imagine the mind is not thinking. The mind is not embracing thought. The mind is simply what? Me Appakicco. Appakicco. Huh? Appakicco.
Disengaged වගේ කිව්ත හැකිද? Not engaging with
I
that.
would say the right opposite. Engaged absolutely fully.
And no, disengage with the outside noises.
Then එතන unbusy disengaging from outside noises or accepting the outside noises as they are, not proliferating them. Then usually with disengagement, okay, you're choosing to sort of disengage.
Outside.
But we know, Shiroma, that අපි disengage කරන්නේ ප්‍රඥාවෙන්.
Disengage the
එතන discernment. හරි. දැන් මෙතන unbusy Appakicco එන්නේ. The Appakicco comes with a lack of hatred that arises towards object. Lack of hatred.
Yeah.
That arises, dosa මූලය හටගන්නේ නැහැ. The dosa මූල චිත්ත doesn't arise towards the whatever that is unfolding. All the restlessness, all of that does not arise. All the akusala chaitasikas does not arise. Appakicco. Even when you're, let us say, something is happening, someone, let us say, is deceiving you, or you are thinking and again and again and again, Appakicco. Right? Let us say your friend has deceived you. Now you're waiting for the time that you are able to speak with them. Up until you do so, you are having tea with them or lunch or dinner with them next week. From next week on Sunday, you're meeting them. So you have a week. This week, you're going to think of all the possibilities. You may be thinking of all the possibilities. All the possibilities. Other than actually seeing the person's face, sitting down with them and asking them what happened, what went on. You think about
There
all
was the opposite of Appakicco. Appakicco.
The opposite of Appakicco is Bahukicco.
Bahukicco.
Yeah.
Okay.
Simple word මන්තේ අප්පකිච්ච එකට අපිට බැරිද වෙන්න මතක් කරන්න.
බහු වෙන්නේ නැතු වෙන්න ඕනේ එතකොට නේ.
It's mainly Sinhala. Alpa means very little.
Bahu
Kicha means the
means
work. That means
Appakicco.
very little commitments.
Yeah.
Alpa means very little. Alpa,
පොඩ්ඩ.
Bahu means more.
yes.
Bahu means more. So being that sense of unbusyness, relating to, right? Relating to whatever object.
Yeah. Little not too many commitments.
No.
Thinking.
No?
Then maybe he thought Buddhahamdro, the Buddha, who would have been the embodiment of this, of what he's preaching. The embodiment. The Buddha, in the way that we see the Buddha, Sri Gautama Buddha, Bahukicca, again physically, උදේ නැගිට්ටට පස්සේ ඒ කියන්නේ කරන්න කෘත්‍ය ගොඩාක් උදේ getting up in the morning, preaching to the deities, then to the humans, going on Pindapata, coming back, and then continuing the teachings, and then the lay people are going to come with the Pindapata as well, so speaking to them and retiring, and then speaking. You remember the whole timetable? So imagine everyone, throughout his ministry, he did this. Appakicco.
Simple. Simplicity.
That means he
Listen,
did what he has to do without
listen, don't say
thinking or
sim
planning.
don't say simple, Sujata, because Appakicco is not simple. It is unbusy. Okay?
Unbusy.
Not being busy in mind.
Ah,
It's not simplicity. It's not simplicity. Particularly, Appakicco means not busy in mind towards the object.
Relaxed mind, you could say? No.
No proliferation of thought කිව්වොත් තේරෙන්නේ. No proliferations of thought. Less busy with thought patterns. Less thoughts.
Less busy, less.
No thinking.
Yeah. Let us say this. Let us say this. You're going to prepare a meal. Okay? You're going to prepare a meal. And you just need to fill your tummy up a little, really. You know, you don't need like a whole master chef situation. You just need to fill your stomach.
Yeah.
Right? In this moment, in this very moment, right? Now, Appakicco would be a situation in that case. You go to the kitchen, you take a look at what's there. You look at, let us say, what's there. And depending on what's there, you select something that is, owing to the situation necessary, right? May something simple, something quick, something easy to put into the stomach and not too much as well, right? Not too heavy, okay? May the make hit. Now, you let us say you select something. What do you make?
Curry.
And the bread and butter would be enough.
Man, you boil an egg and eat.
Boil an egg, some boiled vegetables. Right? My go-to meal as well. Boiled vegetables and boiled egg. Right?
හරිපු
Now see,
හදන්න ගිහින් කරපිංචා නෑ කියයි කරපිංචා ගන්න බැරි වුණා ඊයේ ගියා මතක නැති වුණා හෙට යන්නත් බෑ අර ඒ වගේ මේ
just imagine this, Shiruma. Let us say, now let me talk about something like this. Boiled vegetable and the boiled egg, right? Very basic, very simple, almost no taste, right? So really a lazy meal, right? So let us say I am going to take this out of the fridge, right? And then having taken it out of the fridge, I open the freezer. Now I think actually
ice cream.
Frozen pizza. Right? Now you see, that doesn't happen in Appakicco. Do you understand? That indecisive nature, that busyness. Sure. Do you get what I mean? Now you selected something. I must make something better than this. Or it's okay if you are to make something. It's nothing wrong. This is simply an example to say Appakicco, where the fact is the mind is uncomplicated, right? In a sense that the mind as a nature, the mind gravitates towards positions that are not too busy.
Satisfied mind.
Sujata, you keep on coming up with these adjectives which are completely devoid of the point. Right? This is Appakicco. Right? Appakicco. Now, Sujata, be focused, because Appakicco, Sujata, again, it is being the opposite of busy. Okay.
So how could I write it
now, for example, let's take another example, a bit more easier to understand. You're sweeping a floor.
Yeah.
When your mind is all over the place, you start from one corner, go on to another corner, then come on to another corner, you end up with dust all over the place.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? That is busy.
Yeah.
Everyone, do you see? Then now you're calm, you're settled, you're present, you're sweeping the floor. You start from one side, you finish at one point, you get the dustpan, put it in, throw it away, done and dusted. Appakicco. But Appakicco, yes, it's the sense of busy or being not so busy. Remember, this is not so busy in mind. Not so busy in mind, where you could be doing nothing at all, but your mind could be so busy, isn't it, everyone? You could be absolutely jobless,
Yes.
but your mind could be very busy. Yeah? You could have many things to do, but you could be in a very zen state of mind, not busy. This is referring to the state where the mind is not busy with the object. The mind is not going back and forth with the object. Do you understand? That is the nature of the mind. Appakicco. When the mind wants to do this and that, that is in a sense of busyness. They can nikang in the the sense of that busyness, that gravitation towards the busyness is causing, for example, the dvesha mula chittas to arise. Because that is what Appakicco means, right? Appakicco means, because really, imagine the bhikkhus, right? The bhikkhus who were in that forest meditating and trying to meditate and
Yeah.
having these issues. Their Bhaukicha would have been discussing with the other bhikkhus what to do, what must we do? Shall we go to another place? Shall we stay here? Should we do some chant? All of these sort of, you see, contributions and all of these sankharas pertaining to these sounds and the ghoulish behavior and everything that is happening. Sense of Appakicca in here would be where the bhikkhus, whilst hearing the noises and the sounds and all the other impediments that present itself to the environment, they are not busy in mind. Again, the මේක අනවශ්‍ය විදිහට කතා කර ඉන්න දෙයක්වත් නැහැ.
කලබල නැතුව.
කලබල වෙවි කතා කර ඉන්න දෙයක්වත්, there is no reason. There is no basis for those monks to be discussing this again and again and again and again. Just get on with it. Okay, we are being haunted. Okay, let's move on. Why? Because now you've received the karmasthana, you've received what must be done by the Grand Master, the Buddha himself. Now, on the basis of that, this is what we must do. We continue. Appakicca is that mind stabilizing and being one with that environment where you're not fighting that environment. You're not fighting that environment. Now, you're not fighting that environment. The next is Sallahukavutti.
Simple.
Which is simple.
Sehellu gati pavitum. Sehellu gati pavitum.
Yeah.
Oh.
Where this is a life which is simple in livelihood, right? Simple in livelihood. Now, simple in livelihood, if you're living across 3 continents or 4 continents, if you have 4 children in 4 continents, my heavens, right? You're traveling from continent to continent. Traveling from continent to continent. ඔතකොට හිතන්න සල්ලහුකවුත්ති කිව්ව මෙතන the simplicity of livelihood. Now, even whilst traveling from continent to continent, I know who travel from continent to continent to visit all the children in the 4 corners of the earth, right? But there are also people who are practitioners who sort of, in going to these continents, they know exactly which monastery to be in Australia. They know which exact monastery to go to in America, which monastery to go to in Europe, and to stay at home in Sri Lanka, right? They know exactly what to do. They know exactly what to do. So even if you're traveling from continent to continent, you can be simple, right? You can be simple. You can just be going, the children are sending the tickets, you're just going, flying, you're being collected, and doing all of that is okay, right? But this refers to the basis of life, everyone. Now, for example, let us say I'm traveling because my children want me to travel. That's one thing. But the thing is, traveling because I want to travel, traveling because of, let us say, I will not travel in anything apart from business class, let us say. Quite stressful, right? Quite stressful. And it could be stressful towards the people who may be purchasing your ticket, or you know, or if the ticket prices increase, let us say, substantially, right? Now, in those cases and scenarios, what happens, everyone? Now you don't fly because you are unable to get that ticket because it's too much. Economy does not arise in your mind at all. There is no economy flight. It does not exist in your universe. It's another story, everyone. Let us say very long legs, very big body, physical discomforts. That's a different thing, that is for the ease and being able to travel. But when it is at a morning, I will never travel on business, anything apart from first or business, that is not Sallahukavutti. Because you see, in order to, let us say, spend 1.5 or 3 million on a ticket, Sri Lankan, 3 million on a ticket, that is a lifestyle that you need to completely be funneling funds into. Right. So even one fine day, even if you stop working, or even if, let us say, your children, right, are supporting you, then you're afraid, am I able to afford this lifestyle? Yeah. All of these worries do not arise to the Sallahukavutti person. Why? Because that person, simplicity in livelihood. For example, I don't need a Rolls Royce or a Mercedes Benz. If I can get to from point A to point B, that's enough of a car for me. That's fine. You know, that's sort of simplicity in livelihood.
Yeah.
Right? And I think it is so beautiful. It's so beautiful where, and right now, especially with Western wealth and showing of Western wealth, it has become quite, I mean, especially like in the Scandinavian countries, where the show of wealth isn't something that is really respected. Yeah? Which isn't really respected, right? This is the attitude of mind where the mind does not gravitate towards that busyness or that kilesha. You can be easily supported. පොල් සම්බෝල ටිකක් පරිප්පු ටිකක් තිබ්බත් වළඳන්න පුළුවන්. වළඳන්න පුළුවන්. It is quite interesting, everyone, because you will meet people who are quite well off, and they're okay with pol sambola and party. No fuss. And then you meet people who are not that well off as those, but they do not eat anywhere apart from fine dining. They have chefs and all of these things. They need. They cannot penny in on the power news. Right? Yeah. But the thing is, eka Sallahukavutti neme. That does not lead to that calm lifestyle. Here, the Sallahukavutti for the monks and for ourselves would be the fact of Thina de Pulwang Apitinda. තියෙන දේ තියෙන ටිකෙන් ඉන්න පුළුවන් ශක්තිය. ඊට පස්සේ සල්ලෝකවුත්ති Santindriyo, controlled in the senses. Oh, Shiroma?
We didn't apply that to the object and had a look.
Simple in livelihood, relating to the object. Relating to the object. The basis of your life at this moment, you don't need much. උස්ම තිබ්බොත් ඇති. වේදනාවක් තිබ්බත් ඇති. ස්පර්ශයක් තිබ්බනම් ඇති. Okay? හරිද everyone? ඒ කියන්නේ ධාතු සියල්ලම පේන්නේ එක ධාතුවක් පේන එක ඇති. Simple. ඇති කියලා කියන්නේ දැන් මේකෙන් පටවියද බල you observe the patavi and you don't want to go for no, not that. The fact that even the seeing of patavi is something that is because you don't have those high standards of you don't have any of that in your mind. What you have is being in the moment. So that simplicity of livelihood, at this moment, your life can be sustained with this happiness or this object. Does that make sense? Even if it is the fact that you can't go into the second tetrad of Anapanasati, but you can remain in the first tetrad and you're practicing, you're there. Even that is fine. ඒ කියන්නේ අර ලොකු ලොකු දේවල් පිටපස්සේ එහෙම පන්නන්නේ නැහැ. සල්ලෝක. Does that make sense, everyone?
Bante. Yeah, I think I got it.
Yeah. මේ Santindriyo. Santindriya කියලා කියන්නේ of course may being controlled in the senses.
ශාන්ත වූ ඉන්ද්‍රියන්.
ශාන්ත වූ
Indian
ඉන්ද්‍රියන්. ශාන්ත වූ
control.
ඉන්ද්‍රියන්. ශාන්ත වූ ඉන්ද්‍රියන් කිව්වම the monks in the Andavanaya, when they heard all of these or went through all of these experiences, they would have been quite the opposite, where they might have been quite sort of, worried or what's going to happen and all this anxious behavior, right? Anxious behavior. Here, controlling senses, everyone, even with an object that might be quite fearful or that might be quite novel in nature, controlled in senses is where you don't get too excited or overly excited, or the right opposite, that you don't go down too much or neither do you go become excited too much.
Yeah.
Controlled in senses. Abhidam. Now, let us say you're meditating and you fall asleep. And then you get up. Again, while still in the meditation itself, you get back up, right? At this moment, being controlled in the senses is where you don't blame the mind and body or pass blame onto yourself or put yourself down for that experience. Santindriya. That Santindriya, for example, even through meditation, when you're hearing the sounds, not opening your eyes. I'm sure they came and even whispered things in the ear. But no. But no. Controlling senses towards what? Towards the object of nirvana. Santindriya. Is that understandable, everyone?
Yes.
Controlling senses. Even with regard to the object, when you see something so beautiful and profound, even at that state, controlling senses. Controlling senses. Does that make sense? The next is Nipako. Nipako is prudent, being prudent, sensible, and discerning. Nipako. Meaning, what is,
Simple word is nipuna.
Nipuna.
Sinhala word is nipuna. That means
Nipuna.
sort of clever like.
Nipunatavaya. Prudent. Being prudent. Being prudent. What is being prudent?
Prudent.
Maitri karanna, we mentioned this. Maitri karanna olila maitri karannawa. Karuna. Mudita. උපෙක්කා දැන් අපි හිමු ගොඩාක් ලස්සන තැනට ගිහිල්ලා මෛත්‍රී කරන්න යනවා. ඒක රාගෙට හැරෙන්න පුළුවන්. Do you understand? මේ දැන් අපි කියමු කරුණාව අයත් වෙන්නේ නැති තැනට ගිහිල්ලා කරුණාව කරන්න හදනවා. මුදුතාව වෙන්නේ නැති තැනට ගිහිල්ලා මුදුතාව කරන්න හදනවා. Sympathetic joy. It's not prudent. Do you understand? It's not prudent. Because let us say the place that you have to do upekka and letting go, then lamai gila ඒගොල්ලෝගේ මේ husbands ලා wives ලා ඒ කට්ටියත් එක්ක ළමයිත් එක්ක ගිහිල්ලා ඒගොල්ලෝ සතුටු වෙනවා අපි කියමු. නැත්නම් ඒගොල්ලෝගේ යාළුවොත් එක්ක ගිහිල්ලා සතුටු වෙනවා. right? දැන් මේ වෙලාවේ ඇත්තටම අපි දැන් මේ කණ්ඩායම අපි ගත්තොත් ඕගොල්ලෝට ඔය වගේ අත්දැකීම් තියෙනවා. ඕගොල්ලෝට මේ අවස්ථාවේ තියෙන්න ඕන මෙත්තා මුදිතා කරුණා කියන එක නෙමෙයි. උපේක්ඛාව. උපේක්ඛාව. මොකද ඒගොල්ලෝ ගිහලා සතුට වෙනවනේ. සාදු සාදු මට මගේ බෑරක් කරා ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒගොල්ලෝ ගිහලා සතුට වෙයි. ඒ සතුට තමන් කරලා oh my gosh I need to send this to my friends, oh my gosh you all are having so much of fun, I wish I was there. ඕව නැහැ. Nipako prudent in that way. At that moment the meditator is prudent to know at this moment I need to have upekkha. At this moment, I need to be having upekka. Now, let us say you want to talk. Someone else or the person that you want to talk to doesn't want to talk yet. You must be patient. But the prudent thing would be to wait, be patient, and give that person time where that person is also ready to talk. Right? However, the lack of nipako is not being prudent with that situation. Hence, you go push. Push the person. Now that pushing turns into uproar. Not prudent. Okay. So, for example, let us say the yuckers were trying to disturb. Would have been moments that they did metta. There would have been moments where that metta had to become karuna or mudita or upekka or completely into the vipassana. Because at the end of the day, with the changing, all these deities and all of them stopped bothering the monks. But that was change that came through prudent behavior. Whatever they did, hitanna. These yuccas did not want these monks here. It was their forest. Okay? It was their forest. In the monks being prudent, in their practice, that led to the yuccas. They did something. They did even more. They did even more than that to disturb them. They tried, and they tried. The monks were prudent. If the ball is coming this way, you turn to the right and you hit the ball. If the ball is coming this way, you turn to the other side. You get what I mean? Being prudent in the way that you deal with it. That prudence is what Nipako is. Is that clear, everyone?
Prudent.
Now, for example, let us say you often ask, Bante, what time do I switch to this? What time do I switch to this meditation? Neither. There comes in knowing exactly how to discern and do sense. That sense of prudence. That prudence arises from a mind that is not dwesing chalanayකට පත් නොවෙච්ච මනසක්. When the mind is not in this up and down state because of dvesha, you are able to then be prudent over the practice right here, right now. එකකට stuck නෑ. Now people say sometimes බන්තේ මං කරන්නෙම මෙත්තා විතරයි. To me, or that sounds a bit let us say incomplete, because metta itself is not enough. Metta has to have wisdom. You can do metta in vipassana, you can do anapana, you can do vedana, kaya gata sati, all of these things. If you're just doing metta, that's not enough, because that is not a robust practice. That is not a robust practice. For example, let us say you do metta, and out of the blue, from a person that you never expected, a son, a daughter, a friend, a family member, they do something unprecedented. Never did you imagine that this person would do this, right? Never. මේ අවස්ථාවේ දැන් මෛත්‍රිය පුහුණු කරලා නැණි මේ දේවල් සමාතර මෛත්‍රියෙන් ඩීල් කරන්න බැරි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ අවස්ථාවට you have to have, and occasions like that, the vipassana or some other practice would also help, because it further reinforces the power of metta. Even towards uncertain situations and changes that are experienced by people, by us, by the yogi. Nipako. Then we have Appakicco.
තව example එකක් කිව්වොත් a yogi who is sitting meditating and finds himself falling asleep, and then thinks, I will get up and do some walking meditation, come back and sit and meditate again. That's kind of prudence.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example, Shuma. Yes, that is.
Yeah, that's right. To be able to do the right thing at the right time. That's
exactly. Absolutely. Because you see, when you're trying to force yourself to sit, sometimes it's far more effective to get up, do some walking, and then come back and sit.
Mante, sorry.
Yes.
It means, sorry, Google says being careful about your choices, stopping and thinking before acting.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Prudence. When this becomes...
Bante, that's ස්ථානෝතිත ප්‍රඥාව. තනේ හැටියට have wisdom.
Exactly. Then the 13th one, the next one is Appakicco. Padamala, Sinhala. Appakicco. Appakicco actually is like having humility, isn't it? Appakicco. Humility and politeness. Not being impudent. Not being impudent. The right opposite. So what is...
Humility, Bhante, please.
Sorry?
Humility means what?
Sorry?
The meaning of word humility.
Okay. What is the meaning of the word humility?
In Sinhala or whatever.
Huh?
Kante, what is in Sinhalese is හැඩි දැඩි අසංවරයක් නැති කෙනෙක්.
Humility.
Daddy asangvaryak?
නැති කෙනෙක් විය යුතුය.
No. Appakicco. If you would take Gabbo being very heavy all over the place, Kalamatong kind of personality, right? May with the object, ඒ කියන්නේ හරි දැඩි අත්දැඩි මේ අරමුණත් එක්ක. අරමුණත් එක්ක. Now, for example, let us say the monkey mind. The monkey mind. The monkey mind arises and now මේ මොකද වඳුරාද? මේ වඳුරාව ගැට ගහන්නම හදනවා මොකේ හරි. You want this monkey to stop. You want this monkey to just stop. And in order to make it stop, we tell it off, we scold it, we do a lot of things maybe, right? Or force, or try to force. However, we realize, nah, in being compassionate, in understanding, in seeing it as that nature works far better than being impudent. In having that kalamatong kind of very rash, very harsh sort of reaction to that scenario. Reaction to that Appakicco in that sense is kochara lokunat, you're not going to be dragging or bouncing your weight around. Okay? Your weight around. With the moment, whatever, when there is no self, right? When there is no self, then what are we battling or trying to show up against? Appakicco is what happens when you realize that. Appakicco is what happens when you realize that. Right? Where you're not throwing your weight around, you have that sense of humility. So even when the object is subtle and simple, even with that, with politeness, with humility, be the ability of one to not look at this in an impudent way, right? But to be present with that as it is, right? Deriving from the other qualities. Being with that, because why? Appakicco is on the factor. Then api samara velawata, we know the occasion of when we are anxious, we might very well be throwing our weight around a bit in order to create stability. For example, this may often happen when sometimes you meet new people or, because you're unsure, you're not still comfortable with them. You're not comfortable. ඒ කියන්නේ comfort එක නේ නෑ. ඒක වෙන්නේ. ඉතින් මේව ඔක්කොම ඉතින් කෙලස් තමයි. ඉතින් what to do නේද? What to do. මේව ඔක්කොම කෙලස් it what to do. ඒ කෙලස් කියලා හඳුනාගෙන අනිත් මිනිසුන්ගෙත් අපෙත් ඒ කෙලස් කියලා හඳුනාගෙන ඒකත් එක්ක අපි we are not going to deal with it in that sort of lack of compassion or lack of realization sort of approach. Here, we are able to, let us say, in this case or scenario, you just start with a smile. Hi. You just start with a smile. Because you're not going to go in the way of, let us say, showing your power or showing the titles or showing where you... Do you get what I mean?
Show off.
Having that sense of humility or politeness, right? Humility or politeness.
Politeness.
Yeah.
Politeness.
Right? To that situation, to that object, Meme hitting now, for example, what was the name of the monk who was a teacher who was walking till his legs bled on the feet, bled on the walking path? How did?
සෝනහමුදුරුවෝ දර ඊට
මේ
පස්සේ වීණාව ගැන කියපු
නෑ
එක්සාම්පල්
සෝන
එක.
හාමුදුරුවෝ නෙමේ. Sona Hamdurunime. He was the teacher who was teaching. He had 10,000 odd arahats, all learned from him. And then one of the arahats, his students sort of became arahat. And then he looked at, oh my gosh, if my discernment and ability is so much, then what would my teachers be? At that moment, he realized, oh, my teacher hasn't attained as yet. Remember that story, everyone?
Yeah, I
Right?
remember.
Now, see, that is a perfect example for this occasion, because why this teacher put it off, enlightening himself, why he put it off was on the grounds of, I know all the Dhamma, all of my students are enlightened, I can do this. ඊට පස්සේ මතකද කතාව?
මෙයා ගිහින් අහනවා නේද?
මේ ඒක තමයි. ඊට පස්සේ ගිහලා අහනවනේ මැරෙන්නවත් වෙලාවක් තියෙනවද
ඔව්
මහස
මැරෙන
කියලා.
වෙලාවක් නැහැ නේද කියලා.
මොකද මේ උත්තර දානේ බලන්දත් ප්‍රශ්න උත්තර වලට කතා කර කර තමයි දානෙත් බලන්නේ. ඒ මට්ටමට උන්වහන්සේ he was busy, but he was so confident on his abilities that he was thinking, okay, give me a second, I will go and come. කියලා තමයි ගියේ. මේක කරාගෙන ඉන්නම් කියලා. ඉක්මනින් මේ පන්ති ටික කන්ටිනියු කරන. එච්චරටම he trusted his abilities, no? But then how many years do you remember? Was it 17 years or 32 years? 17 years or 32 years, I can't remember. But definitely more than, I think it was more than 20 years for sure. He was practicing. Why? The lack of the impudence there. The impudence there. The factor, then metana, he knew the Dhamma, so there was a lack of humility towards that. Now, everyone, he was a great teacher and all of that, but remember, he thought he knew all the pathways. Even not up until he did not have the humility for the factor, he might not know. මොකද රහතන් වහන්සේලා කොච්චර හිටියද? දසස් දහසක් හිටිය. උන්වහන්සේට ගෝලියෝ රහත්. රහත්. Okay. Hence, he was impudent. He was unable. මේ වගේ occasions අපිට ගොඩාක් තියෙනවා when senior professors and their juniors, isn't it? When the juniors with technology and all of that, they make strides, sometimes the senior professors do not want to accept this. Sometimes when you're writing your theses and all of that, you get into so much of issues with things like this, because sometimes the patterns of thought or all of that, because you have to do it according to the first and the secondary, right? So this is Appakicco, everyone. That Appakicco is, imagine, even for that bhikkhu who had to meditate then more than 20 years to achieve and attain, for him, the lack of that Appakicco there, the humility to believe that this, make a matter, monk Raganunda, he thought it would be easy just because he had all those monks. Does that make sense? Then, everyone, I'm so glad 5 o'clock and we've come to the last one, which is Kulesu Ananugiddu.
කුලයෙහි නොඇලුණු.
Kulehi no
ඇලුණු.
How do you say it again?
නොඇලුණුයි.
No
ඇලෙන්නේ නැති.
alenui. Okay.
නොඇලුණි.
No alumni. Okay.
නොඇලුණ. කුලයෙහි නොඇලුණ. ඇලුනේ නැති. ඇලුනේ නැති.
හරි. කුලේසු කියලා කිව්වම කුලයේ තුල ඉන්නාව. කුලේසු, it is locative case. SU is locative case. When it is locative, kule tula. In the kula. Ananugiddu. Not ananugid. Gijuvima. Gijuvima is a word. Giju. If I remember what Gijuvima is, it's like tanhaving alima kineka.
ඇලීම.
Kule kirihi giju novima. I can kule. ඒ කුලේ ඉන්න මිනිස්සුන්ට ගිජු නොවීම. ඔතකොට දැන් මෙන්න මෙතන මෙතන everyone now this was කුලේසු අනනුගිද්දෝ කිව්වම හිතන්න බුදුහාමුදුරන් මේක කියන්න why did he say this?
Yeah.
Right?
පැවිදි
Oh my. I mean, I'm glad we did this because I have not gone through the Metta Sutta like this as well. Me kulesu ananukittu. Imagine everyone when the monks were going on Pindapatha, and obviously for their food, even before they went and got this karmasthana. Okay, so then the monks were going on Pindapatha, and they probably told, right? Probably told the Gama, right? The Gama Minusu, like the message would have gone that, you know, we are going through this kineka. හරි. ඔතකොට කුලේ ඒ කට්ටිය, those lay people or the householders might have tried to go out of their way to help. But what are lay people supposed to do to something like this? Do you get it? Kulesu hitanne. Then the monks are in trouble, meditating in this forest, and they come to our village every single day for meals. Okay. In this occasion, when there is, so obviously there might have been interactions with the bhikkhus and the laity, the dayakas of this area. There, when the bhikkhus, when the dayakas would have asked, Bante, how are you doing? You know, all of that, they might have related the fact of the haunted, those things, right? So obviously, the lay people, being as kind as they are, would have tried to find a resolution to this issue. Hari, meaning, daikiyone. Ne? Swamin Hanslata adari daikiyone. So the lady who loves the Sangha, so they would have tried to find a solution. In trying to find a solution, the monks would have got involved too much with the lay people. Do you understand? Because they are trying to make the monks comfortable or all of these things. So then what that would have done is the monks would have tried to gain comfort in a different manner, which is the fact of the lay people getting involved in all of that, when the answer to this was not with the kulesu, not with the people in the village. The answer to this was through the metta and practice.
Right.
Do you understand?
Yes.
අන්තිමටම බුදුහාමුදුරු කියනවා කුලේසු අනනුගෙද්දු. Do not go and depend on those people for the pirikara and all of that. Don't depend on them for the support for the practice. For the practice, what your support is the Dhamma that the Buddha has now given you. So whatever happens, you have no other line of practice. Practice this. වෙන කට්ටියකින් පිළිසරණක් හොයන්න එපා කියන එක. Do you understand? Now, imagine this in a case or scenario where you are having trouble, right? And it is, let us say, you go and you're speaking to people. Okay, you're speaking to people, which is wonderful. It helps us a lot to speak to people and share, right? In this case, right? In this case, or in any case, speaking to people is all right, everyone. And your friends are very good at advising you, especially when they are not going through the same issue. They are very good at advising you with the most logical outcome or best solution, isn't it? Huh? Best solution. Emunata, for these monks, or for people who are going behind Nibbana, none of these mundane people can offer you solutions. That solution has to come through the greatest and only solution that is required and of the moment and is needed is actually Nibbana. Is actually Nibbana. I mean, how beautiful. The fact that the Buddha did not send them to a different forest,
Yes.
but send them back to deal with it and to also realize Dhammo have rakkati dhammachari. The Dhamma protects ones who abide and live by the Dhamma. කියන ඒ දෙය අන්තිමට Karaniya Metta සූත්‍රයේ උතකොට points ටික ඉවර වෙන්නේ. The Karaniya Metta සූත්‍ර finishes on the fact of මේ කුලේසු අනනුකිද්ද. ඒ කියන්නේ සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම යම් කිසි දෙයකට හේතු වෙනවද හේතු වෙන්න ධර්මයට. If you're going to sort of need a shoulder for comfort, the shoulder of comfort would be the Dhamma and the practice කියන එක. කුලේසු අනනුකිද්ද. මොකද කුලේසු කියලා කිව්වම කුලේ ඉන්න කට්ටිය, ඒ කියන්නේ කුලවතුන් මේ they worked some other sorts of niyayas. Then කුලවතුන්, the people with the kula gotra families would not even be here in this situation, which is the fact of living in a forest. They won't even be there. The monks had to deal with it with the practice. ඔතකොට ඒ practice එකට දෙන්න ඕන දේ වෙන කෙනෙක්ට දුන්නේ නැහැ. Do you understand? All of that stress and everything had to be overcome through the practice. So the Buddha is telling them, overcome it with the practice, not by getting attached to the kulas, the householders, the families. Solve it within yourself with your practice. Don't get attached to householders and families outside. This is just gold dust, because you see, everyone, ශාසනය තුල ප්‍රශ්න වෙද්දී ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ සාමාන්‍ය විසඳ ගන්න ඕනේ. දැන් ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලාගේ ඒ ප්‍රශ්න ටික එළියට ගිහිල්ලා පවුලට යනවා කියන්නේ it is a huge problem. ඒ කියන්නේ ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලාට විසඳන්න බැරි වෙච්ච ප්‍රශ්නයක්. ඉතින් මෙතන the Buddha is reminding them, stick to your clan, your support system, that is the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Your support system. මොකද කුලවතුන් ගාවට ගියේ ගමන්, had these monks gone to the families for support, the families would have said, come home. Yes. ඕක තමයි මේ පැවිදි පවුල් වල තියෙන මේ go to කතාව. Come home. Just come home. මේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ටීචර් ලීසි වගේ නිකන් බස් එකක නැගලා එනවා වගේ ඒගොල්ලෝට come home. But the Buddha is saying, don't go there. Don't go to that home. Stay in this home. Buddha Dhamma Sangha. එතනම support එක හම්බ වෙනවා. Then the monks support you, Kalyana Mitras support you, everyone will then. ඔතකොට what happened at the end? All 100 bhikkhus attained Nibbana by the end of the rains retreat. Yeah. Yes, everyone. So in our practice, those parts, I will share this on the group so you can have it as well. I just chat GPT it actually. So I'll just copy it for you. May Evunata, you realize that in that Metta Sutra, it really does give us a lot of the qualities that we require and need this practice. Right? And I'm going to leave you with that.
Thank you.
සරණයි.